Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to the Manggcast. And if you celebrated Thanksgiving this week, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. If you did not celebrate Thanksgiving this week, I hope you had a nice Thursday. But either way, that is behind us. Thursday is behind us. It is Saturday, and that means it's time for the Mangcast. And this time, I might actually be truthful in saying that it's probably not going to be a very long show because I have no video game news. None. I couldn't find a single article that I really wanted to talk about. So, in lieu of news, I am instead going to talk about some upcoming games that I am looking forward to and excited about and blah, 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 blah. Because, you know, got to talk about something related to video games. So, the first few are indie games. And I don't play a tremendous amount of indie games. I play some. I'm not opposed to indie games. But some people just only play that and that's all they care about and blah, blah, blah. And really, these indie games that I'm talking about are pretty highly hyped and backed by, you know, some bigger studios and talked about and blah, blah, blah. The first one is called Below. This one was originally announced at E3 of 2013. So it's been a long time coming. There's still no release date. They said maybe end of this year, early next year. We'll see. But this is a kind of a top-down action-adventure game. And this one looks pretty cool because it looks very dark. It looks like a top-down, like, pixel-ish Dark Souls is kind of what it looks like. I don't know. I mean, the art looks good. The atmosphere and just the location so far that they've shown looks good. If the combat is competent, I think this could be pretty good. If the combat turns out to be kind of basic and just, you know, somewhat one-dimensional, then, you know, it could not work out as well. The next one is similar in the vein of trying to emulate somewhat of a 2D Dark Souls, and that is called Salt and Sanctuary. This is supposedly coming out early next year for the PS4, Vita, and PC. And yeah, this one I think is the most trying to represent a 2D Dark Souls. It is very much kind of going for that grim atmosphere filled with death, and you know, the certain mechanics are similar to the Soulsborne series. Yeah, this one seems to most kind of go for that market. But again, just the art looks really good. The gameplay that we have seen looks really fresh. It looks, you know, the combat looks good. This one I'm very interested in playing. And I you know, this one will probably deliver, I think. And then we have Hyper Light Drifter. This was also announced a while back. You know, these games, you know, indie games. Some of these games have like a team of, you know, 2 or 3 people on it. It takes a long time to iron out all the bugs and things like that and make sure everything works. Because people, you know, whether it's an indie game or a full big release, people kind of have the same expectations. You know, they expect things to just work, no bugs, whatever, and that's almost never possible. But, you know, people have other expectations. So Hyper Light Drifter looks also really damn good. The art style is more in the vein of Titan Souls, I guess. That's what it reminds me the most of. It's very retro, but there's a lot of color to this game. The combat looks pretty flashy, pretty exciting compared to something like Below. So yeah, I really like the look of this game in sort of the opposite direction. And again, you know, it comes down to the gameplay. But each of these games has their own kind of unique look that is really appealing for different reasons. So I'm hoping, you know, These games have their similarities as far as gameplay, as just being sort of 2D action adventure kind of games, but I'm hoping they can each kind of stand out on their own merit. Then we have Cuphead. Cuphead I've talked about before, how excited I am for this game. I mean, yeah, the reason to be excited about this one is absolutely the art style and the graphical, the graphic style in the vein of 1930s cartoons and, you know, things like that. And this game is being developed by two brothers, and it's been in development for quite some time. It's supposed to come out sometime next year, maybe quarter 2, quarter 1, something like that. And it seems to be, I mean, they really just nailed everything that we've seen. It seems like they just nailed everything of just plain one of those old school cartoons. That's exactly what it seems like. And it seems like it's going to be episodic, I guess. The episode that they're coming out first is Cuphead in Don't Deal with the Devil. And they're planning, I guess, to come out with expansion packs and, you know, more episodes and things like that. So, yeah, this one I'm really looking forward to. I hope it delivers. Okay, in the more big AAA category, I'm looking forward to Dishonored 2, which is supposed to come out sometime next year. And, yeah, Dishonored was something that I didn't know I wanted until I played it. I didn't know that I wanted kind of a first-person stealth game with superpowers, basically, but there it was, and I really enjoyed Dishonored. I played through it multiple times, and, yeah, it just felt so, you know, comfortable to play with all, you know, the blink powers and these different, and chaining together these awesome kills, and it was a very, you know, it's one of those games that just kind of lends itself to cinematic moments without actually being a cinematic, you know. It's just, you felt very powerful. But even then, when you kind of, you know, limited yourself, you played on the hardest difficulty and you kind of limited your abilities, it still was a very enjoyable experience to kind of just challenge yourself. So yeah, I really like Dishonored. I'm looking forward to Dishonored 2 a lot because I just want, you know, I just want more of it. I want them to take what they've established with the first game and just, you know, kind of improve on everything. They have this foundation, and now they can add, you know, more new interesting powers and do more interesting things with the existing powers. And the story itself, you know, I almost always I can take or leave a story in video games. I did like the setting. I'll admit that I did really like the setting of Dishonored, where it was kind of, it was steampunk-esque, but it was all kind of from a whaling community and things like that. So there was, you know, a lot of oil, and, you know, it was a very kind of gritty-looking game, but also, yeah, it had a certain charm to it. I like Dishonored a lot, so yeah, I'm looking forward to Dishonored 2. Then we have The Division. Okay, so The Division, I'm not exactly hyped about. I'm just interested in. The Division is a game that, I mean, when that was announced, yeah, I was really hyped for it. But nowadays, I'm just curious to see on what's going to happen with this. You know, with the sort of downgrades that have been announced, and, you know, the spanning of across different console generations, and, you know, Ubisoft being what it is nowadays. And it's a very ambitious title with its kind of online stuff, but then I'm just reminded of Destiny and how that was kind of heralded as this huge online experience when really it's not, and I don't know. I could really take or leave Division. I want it to be good because, you know, I want every video game to be good. Of course I do. You know, I really like the concept of this open world multiplayer thing with a third-person shooter with survival mechanics and progression and, you know, things like that, and this gritty kind of post-apocalyptic world. You know, I want that, but I don't know. I don't see it happening, to be perfectly blunt, which is sad. But I'm ready to be wrong, I guess. Next, I guess, is not technically a AAA title. I guess it would be more a indie game, I guess, but it feels so big that it's, I don't know. And that's No Man's Sky. I don't really have to say anything about No Man's Sky. I think a lot of people are very excited about this. And I think this game... Okay. I don't think this game is like the second coming of, Christ or anything like that. I think it is a very hyped game. I think it will sell a lot of copies. But I think this game is capable of disappointment. Not only for the fact that how hyped it is, but I feel like it kind of blew up. I think... I mean, it's hard to say. It absolutely has a lot of potential to be a really big phenomenon on the level of something like Minecraft. I'm worried about the multiplayer aspect of it, I guess. The concept of trying to play with these other people, because based on Sean Murray and his vision, I guess, for the game, it seemed like you're just out there in this tremendous universe, and you could never bump into anybody from the sounds of it. I mean, even if every person on the planet played this game, it would be hard to just meet other people unless there's some other systems in mind. So I'm wondering if they have been pressured by Sony or anything like that to kind of make it a bit more easy to kind of facilitate interaction with other people in some way. I don't know. So I'm excited for this game, obviously because of its potential, but I do think that I'm prepared emotionally to be disappointed by it. Something else I'm also prepared to be disappointed by, although I really hope not, is Dark Souls 3. This is obviously the third game in the Dark Souls series, but the fifth game in the Soulsborne series. And, I mean, 5 games in, there is potential to be kind of, for it to kind of get stale. For it to kind of be just going through the motions of, okay, we have these gritty environments, and there's probably going to be a swamp area, and there's going to be a really dark area, and there's going to be some form of drakes involved, and, these different bosses, and okay, and I have my sword and shield, and we're just going through the motions. But so far, I've not really been disappointed in a Soulsborne series, in a Soulsborne game. Each one kind of has its own thing going for it. And yeah, none of them have really faltered that much. I mean, Dark Souls 2, well, I mean, each game has its faults, and none of them are perfect. They are all very good, but Dark Souls 2, I don't know, I might say it's the weakest, but really that's still a big compliment. To be the weakest of the Soulsborne series is not bad. But then, that game didn't have Miyazaki. Bloodborne did. Bloodborne was really good. Dark Souls 3 has Miyazaki. Yeah. I'm very excited for it, obviously. I mean, it's one of my favorite series of games of all time, so of course I'm going to be excited for it. I'm just, I'm not going to listen to people that are complaining about how it looks or how it plays or anything like that. I'm just going to get it. Of course I'm going to get it. I'm going to experience it, and I'll make my own opinion. And then finally, I have XCOM 2. I'm not really a big strategy guy, like almost at all. I think most of you probably know this at this point. I don't really play any real-time strategy games, anything like that. Turn-based games, the really thing I only care for is turn-based RPGs, like old school stuff like that. So XCOM, the new version when it came out, didn't really seem like my thing at all, but I picked it up, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It wasn't overly complicated. It wasn't kind of esoteric or anything like that. It was pretty easy to get into. It was easy to understand what's going on. You had this progression system. You started off as just kind of this little ragtag organization fighting just these little ET creatures, and then suddenly, there's these giant motherships and, all this crazy shit going on. You really felt like, well, look at this. I have this badass freaking crew as like Predator. It's really cool. And yeah, the gameplay just worked for me. I mean, I probably wouldn't put the first, XCOM, the new one, on my top 10 list or anything like that. But yeah, it's a solid game. And if XCOM 2 can kind of deliver the same experience, but with just, again, more stuff, improving all the things that made the first game good, then yeah, I think they'll have another hit on their hands. So looking forward to XCOM 2 as well. Alright, so that covered up 15 minutes, there we go. Moving on to movie stuff. So this article, I missed out. As soon as I finished recording and rendering last week's Manggcast, I checked the news again, and this article was up, and I was kind of pissed, because I absolutely would have talked about it. And that is the Riddick franchise. Vin Diesel announced last Sunday that there is an official confirmation that there will be a 4th feature film in the Riddick series, as well as a television series. The new film is titled Furia, although I imagine there will be a subtitle or whatever. It'll probably, I can definitely see it being called Chronicles of Riddick Furia or something like that. I don't think they'll just call it Furia. That's not good for marketing. So Furia is the planet that Riddick is originally from. But it was destroyed, I guess, from what I remember of the lore or something like that, or most Furians are dead. Furians are basically Saiyans. I mean, if you compare that plot that I just told you of Furia to the planet Saiyan, or planet whatever it was, whatever the planet was that the Saiyans were from, planet Vegeta, I think. Yeah, it's very similar, and Riddick is pretty much Goku, except not, I guess. So yeah, Riddick is one of the last Furians. I wouldn't say the last Furian, because, that would be stupid to actually be the last one. How do they set up for other plot points? And they have abilities that other, humans don't, and blah, blah, blah. And so I guess with the new movie, they are going to kind of look into the Furian race and go into that kind of mythology, which was not mentioned an ounce in Pitch Black, the original movie, and I want to say was only mentioned in passing once in Riddick, but it was talked about a bunch and expanded a bunch in Chronicles of Riddick. And really, Chronicles of Riddick is a very, it's almost part of a different series than Pitch Black. Those movies are so different, it's crazy. Pitch Black is one of my favorite movies of all time. Chronicles of Riddick, I like it, but if I had to choose between the two, I would always pick Pitch Black. Always. Chronicles of Riddick took away pretty much all the horror elements that Pitch Black had, and it just kind of made it a sci-fi action movie starring Vin Diesel. And so I feel like, Pitch Black and Riddick are very similar. Too similar, I might say. Chronicles of Riddick is kind of its own thing, and I feel like Furia is going to be a lot like Chronicles of Riddick. So I don't know. I'm not... Okay, well, I'm happy. I'm happy about the news, because, Riddick is Vin Diesel's iconic character for me. Like I said, I love Pitch Black. So I like seeing more of the series. So it's good news. I'm happy to hear it. The TV series is called Merc City. And instead of being about Riddick, it's going to be about the mercenaries and bounty hunters and all that kind of stuff that go after Riddick and people he knows and things like that. And I guess the TV series is just more about the, just a show kind of set in the universe of Riddick, Chronicles of Riddick. Vin Diesel, I guarantee, will appear in the pilot. After that, maybe a season finale or two, but I doubt he's going to be in it much. I'd be impressed if he's in it more than that. And I know that like I said, a lot of what Vin Diesel does, I feel, is just due to him. Just due to his interest and what he wants to do and kind of what he pushes for and things like that. So I feel like, he might take a more involved interest in this series than, say, Robert Downey Jr. does with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., So I'll watch it, I guess, but I'm not sure about that. I mean, this series and this universe kind of exists and people are interested in it because of Vin Diesel and the Riddick character. So I don't know how it'll go with just looking at some, a sci-fi show about a bunch of mercs just, going after bounties and things like that. I don't know. Yeah, so overall I'm excited about the news. I'm happy with the news. Even though Riddick was okay. Here's my problem with Riddick. My problem with Riddick is that it invited comparison to Pitch Black. That was my problem with it. And it does not compare to Pitch Black. And I don't think anybody would really argue with that. I just don't see how you could say Riddick is better than Pitch Black. It's not. So I wish it kind of more wanted to stand on its own than being so similar to Pitch Black. And by that I mean really the plot. I don't know. The plot is just too damn similar. I mean, yeah, I guess it's a little different because you had, mercenaries involved instead of just a survival situation. But the fact that, like, John's son was there, like, that just seems so... Or was it his dad? I don't even remember. It was something ridiculous that I didn't believe. I don't know. So, I guess going in the opposite direction, more towards Chronicles of Riddick, it could just... it could be good. It could be good. All right. This one... Oh, boy. So... I believe it was announced a while back that Universal was looking to make a new shared universe with all of its kind of classic monsters. This involves, Dracula and the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster, blah, blah, blah. And so far, I don't think we've really heard much of anything about this development, this shared universe. I don't think we have any news on what the first movie is going to be or anything like that. I don't know if I even reported about that shared universe or anything like that. I don't know how that's going to be. I don't know. Just because you have a shared universe doesn't mean these movies are going to be good. I mean, we had the Wolfman a while back, and that was trash. We have Frankenstein movies every once in a while, like I, Frankenstein. We have a Frankenstein movie that came out yesterday. Dracula is always just kind of around. We had Dracula Untold not that long ago, and that was okay, but I guess it was kind of a different Dracula movie, and I don't know. It's all just kind of old and tread. And so this one then is kind of surprising to hear about. The Mummy. The Mummy came out in, well, The Mummy, I guess, came out in the 1930s, starring Boris Karloff. And I have never seen it, and that's not really what this is about. This is about The Mummy from 1999, starring Brendan Fraser, which I do care about and have seen and like and all that good stuff. So Universal, of course, made the original Mummy and the 1999 Mummy. And so, of course, The Mummy is part of their monster package, I guess. And, of course, they want to make a new Mummy movie because, it's what they're going for. So instead of going for their sort of original style, as sort of more of a horror movie, they want to go more towards the action horror movie of the 1999, which makes sense. But in short, they're remaking the 1999 version of The Mummy. Which, well, it's a bad idea. Of course it is. Because the 1999 version of The Mummy stands up still today, and it's a great movie, and it's got horror, and it's got action, and Brendan Fraser was in his prime, and it's so good. But they're remaking it, and one of the biggest rumors, I guess, as far as the main actor involved, is Tom Cruise. Okay. Not that I don't think Tom Cruise could do it, because Tom Cruise can generally pull off most things that he attempts. What would surprise me is if he accepted the role. This does not seem like something that Tom Cruise would go for. I don't really see this being like a huge thing. I mean, it's going to lean towards horror, I would imagine, in some aspect. It's about a killer mummy. That's what it's about. It has to lean towards horror a little bit. And Tom Cruise generally doesn't go for much horror. And I don't know if I can really picture him in the role, just because I don't see him doing something like this. Now, the original Mummy was a pretty big success. I mean, not the 1999 was a pretty big success for them. $80 million budget, ended up making $415 million. That was in 1999, so yeah, pretty good. And then The Mummy Returns pulled out similar numbers. So yeah, it was, it's... A lot of people have heard of The Mummy. They know what it is. But I just don't see it as being a big thing where Tom Cruise would get involved. So yeah, I don't imagine I'll be watching a Mummy movie starring Tom Cruise anytime soon. But there you have it. There you have it. Also, I'd be surprised if they put The Mummy as their first step forward as far as a shared universe involving all of their creatures. I mean, The Mummy, I don't think, is on the same level of iconicism, that's probably not a word, as Dracula or Frankenstein or even the Wolfman, I guess. But anyways. On to our retarded, ridiculous, stupid, dumb, stupid news of the week. Get ready for this. So this was a project involving Robert Rodriguez and John Malkovich, in which they apparently have filmed a movie titled 100 Years, the movie you will never see. And they've placed it in a time-locked safe that will not unlock until November 18th, 2115. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it is a promotion for Louis XIII Cognac, which is really, really top-shelf liquor that is aged for a century. So yeah, the idea is that this cognac that is, brewed today will be ready to drink when that movie is released. Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, I don't really have to say much about it. This is just dumb. But here's why it's really dumb. Most likely, they did not make any movie. No movie was made. They have released a few different teasers in relation to the project, featuring John Malkovich and featuring the cognac very prominently. And it shows this special time lock safe and all that. But no footage of anything is seen of the movie. No info about what the movie is or anything like that. There's nothing involved. It's just these teasers, which are literally just commercials for this cognac. How easy would it be for them to not make any movie at all, and this is all just a commercial for people to buy some expensive cognac? I don't know, I just don't, it all seems so stupid. It all just seems so stupid because, you know, like a $3,500 bottle of cognac doesn't need a commercial. People that are interested in buying that know about it, and they're going to buy it just because it's really expensive, you know, well-aged cognac. So I don't know what the purpose of that is. And it's just like, what is the purpose of this to me? You know, I'm never going to buy a $3,500 bottle of cognac. I'm not probably going to be alive in 2115. And so it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? This whole thing was organized by, you know, the company, the Louis the 13th. Is that Remy Martin? I don't know. But yeah, it's just, this is just dumb. This is just. I actually hope that with modern medicine, I'll get to live till 2115. And I hope to God that I remember that this existed. Somebody out there has to remember that this happened. And so we can finally just say, I told you so, when they reveal that there was nothing in that safe. There is no safe. It's not a real safe. There's no movie. This is retarded. Even if it was 3 years, it'd be retarded. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, Mangg's movie recommendation of the week. This one's a little different. I actually picked an animated film this time. Now, I don't like much animated stuff. Just really almost anything. I like The Rescuers Down Under, and I like Dragon Ball Z. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few other things, but I mean that's my baseline. So I really don't watch almost anything animated. I don't watch really any anime, nothing like that. But I did watch this for some reason. Actually, I know the reason. And that is Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. So this is a film, came out in 2011. It's part of the kind of DC Universe animated movie series. And it is a film adaptation of the Flashpoint kind of comic book event. Which, of course, mainly stars the Flash, Barry Allen. And that's why I watched it. Of course, I'm a big Flash fan. And so, yeah, I just watched this on a whim one day a while back, and I really dug it. I thought it was really well done. I don't think I ever watched any other DC animated movie. I really never watched, to be honest, I don't know if I saw anything animated from really almost any comic book. I didn't watch like the Justice League or anything like that. Just nothing. I just watched nothing. So it was really strange that I picked this up and I watched it. But damn, it was good. It was actually just a solid film. And I didn't really know any sort of like backstory or any sort of comic book stuff that had been going on at the time when I watched it. I've read up since then, but at the time, yeah, I really didn't know anything that was going on, but it just kind of, stuff was fairly well explained, and It has a nice cast of characters. You know, you have the Flash and you have Batman and Superman and all that. But Professor Zoom is in there as the villain, and you have all these kind of cameos and stuff like that. And the voice acting's really good, and the animation's good, and yeah. So, if you're interested in kind of, comic book movies, or, the DC universe and things like that, and you like going to see the Avengers or, Man of Steel, all these recent wave of comic book movies, I recommend checking out, at the very least, check out the Flashpoint Paradox. I'm sure there's some other good DC movies out there that have been animated and stuff like that. But this is the one I watched, this is the one I'll recommend, and I thought it was pretty good. Alright, finally then, I know I said it's going to be short. I went and saw The Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Part 2, yesterday. And I guess I could talk about it, because I don't think I really talked about any of the Hunger Games movies as far as any sort of review. And I've seen every single one. I saw each one once. And that's all I need to see. So I saw the original Hunger Games movie really because of Jennifer Lawrence. That was the only reason. I'll be clear about that. I think I knew that it was a book series, and a bunch of women in my family were really excited about it, and they went to see it, and so I went along because of Jennifer Lawrence. And I didn't really love the original movie because I was just like, this is Battle Royale, but not really as good, and just more emotional. And then after that, it just kind of became a tradition of every year just seeing the new Hunger Games movie. And yeah, it's been a yearly thing. 2012, 13, 14, and 15. Once every year there's been a Hunger Games movie, which is really impressive when you think about it. I mean, these are big budget, big movies. To come out with one every year for 4 years straight, that's really impressive. I'll give them that. So yeah, I've seen them all. And I can't really recommend them. I mean, if you, at this point, you've either seen one or more of them, or you never will. I don't really see it as a series that people are gonna, if they haven't seen it, they're gonna. Okay, I don't see me ever as a Mangg's movie of the week recommending The Hunger Games. That's what I'll say. So the most recent one, Mockingjay Part 2. Okay, well, there's the Part 1, Part 2 thing, which is becoming a recent trend. And what they say, as far as why they do it, is, of course, to make sure that they can deliver the fullest experience and translate this material fully to the screen the best that they can. That's what they say, why they do it. But we all know why they do it is to make money. I mean, they effectively double their profits by doing this. Probably a little less than double, because at least so far, Mockingjay Part 2 had a worse opening than Mockingjay Part 1. So I would say it's probably a little less than double, but still, it was a smart idea for them. I mean, absolutely, it makes perfect financial sense. You'll never see a Part 1, Part 2 for the first, book in a series translated to a movie, because it's just, books to movies, young adult stuff doesn't always work. Aragon is the best example of that ever. But by the time you get to the third book, the big finale, yeah, you can split it up. So, in my opinion, however, instead of one good finale, we get two average ones. That's how it felt. In fact, when I was watching Part 2 yesterday, I could swear where I could see the footage that they later, re-recorded later to, pad out the movie. Or, I don't know what it was. But there was something really weird going on with Natalie Dormer's hair. Her character in the movies, Cressida, has kind of like half her head shaved. It's the Christy Mack thing over and over. So she's got like half her head shaved. So, you know, her hair just goes down one side. And that's fine. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but okay. But then some shots of the movie, for some reason, it looks like she absolutely has a full head of hair. I don't know if it was just kind of like, for some reason, it was like some of it was pushed over. But no, it absolutely looked like she had a full head of hair. And then the very next shot, it was back to just, oh, look, she has only half hair. So I don't know. There was some, and the movie itself just had a lot of padding. It was very long. It was pretty damn long. And there were scenes that just like kept on going and just kind of extend. There was a lot of talking that, I mean, okay. It's not like I just need constant action every second on screen, but there were just some scenes that's like, okay, you're done talking. Let's move on. But yeah, you could tell that these movies were just padded out to get to these 2 full-length feature films. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman has a somewhat major role, I guess, in these movies. And he died like during shooting of part 2. But then he's in the whole movie somehow. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. It was too long. It was padded out. And it was just... I recognize, however, that I'm not really the target audience for this movie, for these movies. I am not a teenage girl. And really, I think that's who this appeals to. Mainly, I guess, because there's just too much emotions. There was too much feelings for me. I mean, I like movies like Dread. There's not a lot of emotions going on in Dread. There's just, you know, he just gets down to the problem and hammers it out. I mean, you put Dredd in the Hunger Games, shit will sort it out without him crying, you know. That's what I like, you know. And so I recognize this isn't really my thing that I should be interested in. But you know, I saw all of them, so I can say I've seen them all. So I can't really recommend it, except if you're the target demographic, in which case you've either already seen it or you haven't, so it doesn't really matter. That's why I don't need to really talk about it too much. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, I guess she does a pretty good job as far as playing a highly emotional, traumatized teenager that just, you know, screams and cries and then turns completely stoic and okay. I would have rather seen Natalie Dormer in the title role. She's just good. And she's in that movie The Forest coming out, which we saw a trailer for. I'm really looking forward to that. Which takes place in the forest in Japan where people go to commit suicide, suicide forest or whatever they call it. So that should be good. What was I talking about? Right, the Hunger Games. It's done. It's done. There's no more Hunger Games now. Except maybe there will be more Hunger Games because they're like, yeah, you know, we know that the books are done, the story's done, but, I mean, that hasn't stopped people in the past. So let's just maybe make some more movies. Look at Harry Potter. They made like 8 movies, including a 2-part finale, but why don't we make more movies? More money! So, yeah. I mean, Harry Potter I kind of get for going for a spin-off, because it's a very... You know, it's a very... I mean, it's not really... Again, it's not really my thing, I guess. But it's a very fleshed out, interesting universe, I guess. Hunger Games is just kind of like, it has its story, and then there's not really much of a universe to really look into. It's just fucking dystopian. So I don't know. But anyways, that's going to about wrap it up for today. We didn't make it to an hour, so I did not lie to you. It was a shorter episode. But now that all the sales are done and all that stuff, maybe we can get some juicy holiday news in the coming weeks. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm not a news reporter. I just talk to myself. But my name is Mangg. This has been the Manggcast for November 28th, 2015. And I'll see you fine folks next week.